Welcome to the Ignorance is Strength podcast. I'm your host, Fabian motherfucking Ojeda, and I don't know shit, but that's okay. All right, let's get this shit started. Thank you everybody for listening to the Ignorance is Strength podcast. Hope you all enjoyed the previous episode with author Solani Lara with their book, Hija de mi Padre. Definitely check that out, pre-order it, or if when it comes to a digital platform, check it out on there. It'll be available soon. But I want to welcome to the podcast for the very first time, Miss Lisa Marie Barnes. How you doing today?
I'm good. Dealing with this hot weather in Florida. It's crazy. You're in California, right? So you're in where are you, San Bruno?
I mean, if the closest to Los Angeles, if you want to pick like a major city, but I'm in Pomona, so yeah.
Oh, okay. Is it hot over there?
It's hot, but I can't imagine what it's like over there. I mean, I went to Georgia one time, and it was even at night, it was like a hot shower. So I can only imagine what it's like in Florida.
Yeah, it's brutal. It's like to do anything, you got to be out before 7 a.m. or after 9. This is crazy.
Yeah. So, I mean,
AC all the way.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Yeah. So I hate anything above 50. I was probably 50 degrees. I was probably born in the wrong part of the world, but I agree with that. I will charge up my electricity bill. I don't care. But we're here, to talk about, your music, and that's something I'm really interested in because I'm a musician. People have listened before. I've talked to other musicians. I get kind of, giddy when we talk about music, because it pumps me up, So talk to me about that, right? What are you currently doing right now in music?
Okay, well, right now I'm just concentrating on putting all my originals together, recording them, and putting them on all streaming services. That's my goal right now because I've been pretty much doing everything by myself and recording, like the video I did with Final Cut Pro, and I'm just doing everything myself. And I have great help for the mixing and mastering with a friend in Canada, Joey Greco, who's he's got an amazing ear for that. I'm getting there, but I don't have that talent. It's like I want to do everything myself, but at some point you got to get help, especially when it comes to mixing.
Yeah, that's such a like fine tuning kind of thing, right? Like to the naked ear, you could just be like, "Oh, this sounds okay," right? But
yeah, let me just go with it. And I was trying to do that. I'm like, "Oh, this sounds really good." And then I sent it to my friend, and he's like, "Oh, this is horrible. The mix is terrible." He's like, "The playing's great, but the mix is horrible." So, yeah. So you have to have a specialized ear just for that, and it takes years to do that. That's like a whole other skill. He's been doing it forever. So I'm just new. I'm totally new at the whole the DAW, like working with different DAWs, and I go to Berkeley. And so I've been learning a lot at Berkeley on, using DAWs and all that. But it kind of sucks because you have to take a step back from writing music and playing music to learn all this technology. And it's frustrating because it's like, I just want to play. I don't want to have to, spend 3 months learning all this shit. And then, like it holds you back. But you gotta go backwards in order to go forwards, right?
Yeah, for sure. And then the whole technical aspect of music, that always drove me crazy. I was not a fan of that. Like I was just like, let's just play, record this, and throw it out there. When I first started, trying to get music out there, it wasn't like today, right, where you can really be DIY and it's okay. I don't know, we didn't really have too many computers, out there. And especially the software, it wasn't really, something that you could just, buy for a few bucks. If you wanted like real professional software, it's kind of like today, right? It's still like a few $1,000 and whatnot. And as a young kid, it kind of discourages you. It's either that or go pay your money and go to a studio and have them do it. So it's really,
and then you're a slave to them. Like you go there and you have to pay all this money to go into the studio, and then they hold your stuff, your master hostage.
Hmm.
I've dealt with that, and it's like takes forever to get anything done. But when you're doing it yourself, you have more control, a lot more control. And that's my goal, is to just have a lot more control over my own music.
For sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
And you mentioned you're really doing this yourself, right? So so you're singing on the tracks, playing guitar, right? What else are you playing on there?
Well, I'm playing the bass. Well, I'm originally a bass player. I started out on guitar, and then I stopped playing guitar because I was needed as a bass player, and I just happened to have a knack for the bass. And um, so I started playing bass. I was playing upright bass in a jazz band, and then I was really into heavy metal. I mean, that was my thing. I kept really hard rock. So I played in heavy metal rock, hard rock bands for a while, and but guitar was always my first love. I just was a better bass player at the time, and I was like, all right, well, I'll just stick to bass. And then I just decided I really want to get my head way back into guitar. So I've been doing a lot lately with guitar, but I play on the recording. I'm playing the keyboards, I'm playing the guitar, the bass, and I wish the drums, but Joey Greco's playing the drums.
Uh-huh.
He's amazing. He plays like every instrument. Um, so I'm pretty much doing everything other than like I said, not recording and songwriting. Songwriting is my thing. I love writing. I love writing original music and putting it all together. So it's a lot of work. I mean, it's a lot thinking of every angle, like, yep, and then putting it together. Like I have to think about, okay, what guitar part am I going to play? How am I going to put it together? What kind of melody? And I'm not really a vocalist. So I really wasn't into singing at all. So I'm not a trained vocalist. But again, I didn't want to rely on other people to sing my stuff.
Mhm.
Just wanted to do it all myself. And I'm like, well, people are either gonna love it or they're gonna hate it. I'm like not the golden coin. I'm more like the copper penny. You're gonna, you're not gonna pick me out of a group of great singers. But it's just a matter of opinion, and the whole point is just to get the song across. To
Right.
write the song and put it out there, and play everything, and just express everything.
Hmm. No,
And also with
mhm.
singing too is if you're not singing your own stuff, nobody pays attention to the guitars or anything anyway. It's like if I just play the guitar and I have somebody else singing, people are always like, oh, who's playing the guitar? Like, I don't know. It's just, you don't get the same respect or something.
Right. It kind of almost becomes like their song at that point, right?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, even if I'm listening to a song, you automatically assume the person who's singing it, that's their song.
Hmm.
And so that was the other reason why I just wanted to do everything, because
Hmm.
I'm just trying to get my song done, basically.
Yeah, I can definitely relate to that. I mean, I when I was a kid, as good as your people are that are playing with you and stuff like that, if you have a specific like guitar part or something like that, and you want it done your way, right? And so you try to
Yeah,
teach it to people, and sometimes they're just not getting the little nuances of like, no, 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 no,
right.
no, like they mute it like this or scratch like this, right? And so you have to do it yourself.
Right. And I was called a dictator because I was trying to express what I wanted for the song. And they're like, oh, why are you being such a dictator? I'm like, no, I'm not. I'm just trying to explain how I wrote the song. So it becomes a bunch of egos, like you're trying to, like if they wrote the song, I would be more than happy to be like, oh, okay, you wrote the song. How can I help?
Hmm.
Instead, it's like they don't want to help. They just want to argue with you. And I just got tired of that. I'm like, I'm just doing it my way.
Uh-huh.
And then.
For sure. Yeah. Now I wanted to ask, it might be kind of a funny question here, but look, when it comes to rock and bands and things like that, I mean, you'll definitely see your fair share of female lead singers and things like that, right? And
Yeah.
a lot of the time though, when that happens, it kind of becomes a gimmick. It's like, oh, that's the band with the girl singer, right? Now,
Yeah, it's the same thing with the guitar. It winds up being the same thing. It's like, if you there's a lot of great guitar female guitar players coming out like never before. And it's still like it's still like very gimmicky.
mm,
Even though they're great players, it's still like, I don't know, it's still like you have a great player like Joanne Connor. You probably never heard of her. She's a great blues player, and she's older and isn't like the greatest looking woman. Um, and that's why nobody's heard of her. But you get somebody like Nita Strauss or Sophie Lloyd, and because of how they look, you know, it's like they look at them first and then they listen.
mm.
Like, so and you don't get that with guys. Like with men, it's like nobody cares how you look; they only care how you play. So it's a whole different thing.
Yeah, and then if you have both right there, then you're really a star, right?
Yeah, yeah. So it's still tough for women, I think.
You mentioned being into like heavier music, like like hard rock or metal and things like that, right? Um, who are some of the bands that you would throw out there? Like, hey, that's my style. That's what I like.
I love like Rage Against the Machine, probably. Chili Peppers, of course, Led Zeppelin.
Mm.
Always love Led Zeppelin. Megadeth, Metallica,
Uh,
stuff like that. But I can't sing that, so I'm not
uh-huh.
gonna do it. But I love all music, though. I love all genres.
Hmm.
Like I love the blues
Okay.
and jazz. And it also depends on what instrument I'm playing. Like if I'm playing the saxophone, I play the tenor sax. And
Nice.
if I'm playing the sax, I like to play more like uh, Stan Getz or stuff like that, jazz.
Hmm. Yeah,
So,
with those bands, though, you just mentioned like my whole playlist there too.
oh, really? Yeah, I love aggressive music. It just gets me like amped up, It's just great.
Hmm.
And I
Yeah.
like Van Halen, Eddie
Oh
Van
yeah.
Halen. How can you not like Eddie Van Halen? Somebody said recently though, they were doing a review of my guitar playing and they were trying to put it down. And it was really funny because they said, "Oh, you sound like Gary Moore." And Gary Moore is like, if you ever heard of him, he's like a great, amazing player. He's no longer with us,
Hmm.
RIP, but he's an amazing player. But the guy was trying to put me down by saying I sound retro like Gary.
Yeah, I'm like, okay,
And I'm like, oh man,
what an insult, huh?
I know. I'm like, oh, that's a compliment. I'll
Mhm.
take it. I wish I sounded like him. That's great by me.
And music is like so like subjective too. Like we before we even recorded, I think when we first talked on the phone, we were talking about like greatest guitar players and things like that, and how that's kind of a silly question, right?
Yeah.
Because
Yeah, because it's like anybody could be, it depends on your taste and your mood. Like, sometimes I think Eric Clapton is the greatest guitar player ever. And sometimes I think, Zach Wild. It depends, it's so subjective, really. And it's
yeah,
really it's not even a competition to me. It's just
no,
like, everybody's on their own journey and, like whatever you do, you do. And Eric Clapton is great for what he does. One of my favorite players ever,
hmm,
and, there used to be a guitar player. I don't know if she's still around. She was called Pat, and she was like this violin virtuoso, and she just shred like nobody's business on the guitar. She was a maniac,
hmm,
and people used to say, "Oh, she's just all noise and speed." And so that's subjective. I mean, it depends on what you're into, like
yeah,
she could be the worst player to you or the best, and that It's kind of like Yngwie Malmsteen. People used to say, "Oh, he's just playing really fast
Right.
scales," and but you might find pleasure in it. Depends, it depends
Well,
on your taste,
see, so you
you know.
brought up virtuosos like that, right? Like Ingrid Malmsteen, and I'm like, I was about to bring that up because I was going to say like, there's people out there who are like that is the greatest guitar player in the world, and I'm not doubting his skill or proficiency, but I can't listen to that. Like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, yeah, exactly. It could stress you out. I mean, some people, some players can like totally, like you can either get energized by it or you can get stressed out by it. It depends,
Mm-hmm.
like some things are grating on the nerves. Like I can't listen to a lot of The Cure or stuff like that. I just can't, not me.
Uh, uh,
But I'm not putting it down. It's just not my thing.
yeah, no, for sure.
Everybody's got something.
And like one of the bands you mentioned was like Rage Against the Machine, right? A lot of people out there saying like, oh, Tom Morello is like one of the greatest guitar players out there. Now, if you're looking at it like skill wise, you're like, what are you talking about, right?
Yeah,
But you see, I can listen to his stuff because he makes it work with what with the bands that he plays in. Rage Against the Machine, Audio Slave, right? He makes it work, and it's very unique. And again, he might not be like the greatest out there. Just kind of like same thing with we talked on the phone like Santana, right? Who plays the same thing over and over again, essentially, but he makes it work, and
yeah.
it's a beautiful song every single time.
Right, exactly. I mean, it's really and it's really a matter of taste. I mean, he's really a melodic player. And Tom Morello, I think he's pretty innovative. He's got a very original, unique sound. Like you hear him and it's him. Same thing with Santana. Carlos Santana. That sound right off the bat. You know who it is. And I think that's what can make a great guitar player is when you can hear it and say, "Oh, that's right away." They have their signature sound, and it's them.
Mm-hmm.
But
Yes.
yes,
Same
you
thing with
know,
like John Frusciante, Red Hot Chili Peppers, right?
yeah,
I
yeah,
I think he's one. I mean, for me, one of my favorites because he. I remember when I was like learning how to play music, I could play a Red Hot Chili Peppers solo from like the Californication album because they were so easy, right? But
yeah,
they sing to you too, like they're very melodic. Those solos while they're easy, they sing to you, right? And I could always tell, like, okay, that's a John Frusciante song there.
yeah. People when it became like the '90s and everybody got into the whole grunge. There were so many guitar players that were so relieved because they were like, "Oh, now I can play guitar," because everybody was intimidated before because it was all you had to be a virtuoso to be respected. You had to be Steve Vai or you had to play like you know a speed demon. So now it's like it became like, oh, melodic is and when you think about it, it's really what the song with when it comes to playing guitar, it depends on what the song needs. It's not about ego. It's about, okay, what's the song need, as far as musicality, kind of guitar part. But with Elusive Magic, I was trying to like show that I play guitar. So I came out of the gate with playing, as soon as the opening riff, I was like, I got to play guitar right in the beginning, smack in the beginning before anything, because it's like, hello, I play guitar. You know, a lot of people think that I'm just singing on the song, and I'm like, no, I'm playing everything.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, kind of like I don't know, I don't want to say like chip on your shoulder, but you got something to prove right there, right? It's like, hey, look.
Yeah, kind of. Not a chip on my shoulder. It's just like, it's just I guess it's more like I want to be respected, like as a musician and like a serious musician, not just somebody who's tinkering, right?
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, so I have another song that I'm releasing hopefully in the next 2 weeks. It's called Spirit and it's all instrumental and no vocals at all. I'm like, I'm not sure how that's going to go over, but
Mm-hmm.
a lot of people aren't into instrumentals, but that's all guitar. It's just all guitar. So,
How
and then I have another one that's another blues song coming out too, which I'm
and
excited about. So that should be in another couple of weeks.
So you mentioned blues, right? How would you describe your, all these songs and you're releasing? How would you describe their sound overall? Is it mostly like a blues type of feel, or are you mixing it up, kind of eclectic and whatnot?
Um, I kind of was going, I was kind of just trying to feel out where I'm going, but it seems like I'm falling into this whole blues thing. But I would say that I wouldn't say that more soulful blues, I would think,
Hmm.
that's kind of, and my vocals are more raspy kind of, pretty unique. I've been told. So um I don't know so much if it fits into the blues style of singing, probably not. So I'm still trying to figure out where I sit as far as like, rock. But I prefer rock music, of course, like
Hmm.
that's just my soul, my heart. When
Yeah.
I played bass, I was like it, more aggressive, I think, than I am on the guitar, a more aggressive bass player.
Hmm.
The guitar seems more um rockish blues, so
Hmm. Yeah. Like and it's kind of like when you're doing your thing, your solo thing, you want to put your music out, you can get a whole bunch of stuff out there. I thought when I was doing music and I wanted to start recording, so I never really did record like a whole, collection of works. I recorded a few songs, but I remember it would come out, everything would just come out and be like, okay, this one sounds kind of reggae, this one sounds kind of metal,
yeah,
this one sounds kind of
yeah,
like alternative, and it
yeah.
would just be a big jumbled up mess of things. And back then I was thinking like, man, you can't put this all on an album. People are gonna be like,
It's
what is
confusing,
this?
right? Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I was going through that too because a couple of songs, I'm like, they sound country. Like I'm not even a fan of country. I don't hate it, but I'm not really a country person. But the songs were coming out country, and I'm like, I don't know if I want to put that out there along with, like I'm trying to be consistent, but yet I think you just got to go with what you do, kind of feel it out and throw it all together, put it out there, and then kind of find yourself
Hmm.
through it all because maybe you are just an eclectic person and you need to put out eclectic music. I don't know, but
Yeah.
if you overthink it, that could hold you back too. You got to just commit and say, okay, well, this one sounds pretty heavy. This one sounds bluesy. I don't know. I guess it could be okay. I was wondering about singing because I'm like really I wanted to put other people on different songs, sing on different songs. But
Hmm.
then I was like, I don't know if that'll be if I should just be consistent and just put everything with me singing, or if I mix it up. Like one song already that I put out, um, which I love the song I love, and but I have somebody else singing on. I have that Joey Greco singing on. I don't know if you saw the video, and it's a great song, but nobody. And the song was about something about I had a boyfriend who died, and the song was about him. So when Joey's singing about it, nobody's going to know that was written from my heart. It was
Hmm.
about what I went through, what I experienced. I mean, you might get it from the video. If you watch the video, you could see the whole, what happens in the video. But again, if you're not singing on your own songs, you're not really expressing it, you know?
Yeah, no, I totally get that, right? That's it's yours. You have to, nobody's
Yeah.
gonna put the same, as good as somebody is, nobody's gonna put the same feeling and emotion into it, right? Now, we were talking about, releasing songs and, different sounds and things like that. I think now, with the landscape of how music is released and everything like that, it's more conducive to something like that. So it's because music's essentially being just released as like singles, right? You don't even have to put a whole
Yeah.
album out there. You can put one song, excuse me, one song, and then a month later put a different song out, right? You don't
Yeah.
have to put a
And,
whole album together.
and it winds up on different streaming, like different playlists. Like I know my song, when I put it out there, it wound up on so many different blues playlists. I'm like, wow, this is on, 5 different blues playlists. I'm like, this is cool. But then my other song wouldn't go on those lists. They'll go on a completely different list, which is cool too, you know. Like
Mhm.
even when I was getting reviews, I was getting write-ups on each song, and it's like Road Rage Metal Magazine. They're not going to review my blues song. They're going to review the rock song, you know. So,
Mhm.
uh, but yeah, you wind up on different playlists according to what the song is. It doesn't matter.
Mhm.
It,
Yeah.
unless you have a goal of putting like a live band together and you're going out touring, maybe you want to do something consistent. But if you're just trying to get your original stuff out there, then I guess it doesn't matter if you just keep putting singles out, right?
Yeah, I mean, because you could just throw a song out there, right? And then everybody likes it, and all of a sudden it's like a huge hit everywhere, you
Yeah,
know?
right,
Mhm.
right. It goes viral depending on if somebody likes it, they hear it on Spotify or whatever, and then they put it on. They're like, "Oh, I'll put this on my playlist," and then somebody else, and then it just spreads that way, you know.
Yeah,
Like,
well, I don't know if you're familiar with like that song that's all over the place on little like short TikTok videos, but like that Korean pop group with the girls, the little what's that song called? But they have a dance to it and everything, and that shit blew up huge, right? And I don't think if it
oh,
was
I've
like
seen it on TikTok. Yeah, yeah, yeah,
um
yeah.
yeah, I forget what it's called, but it's super popular, and it was like on top of like the streaming charts. It's still on top of the streaming charts, you know. But I don't think anybody bought any sort of album for that. You know, they just heard that one song and it blew up. You know, and so music, the industry, it's like it's way different now, right?
It's so different, and a lot of people are anti. I know my a lot of my friends that are musicians. They're like anti streaming because why? They're like, oh, why should I put my music on there? I'm not going to make any money, you know. But it's not about that anymore. You know, it's like the only way that you make money on streaming is if you'd have to get 500,000 streams to make 2,000 a month. You know how
Yeah.
hard? I mean, it's possible to do that. I mean, I guess if you put enough stuff out there, but the whole purpose of putting it out on streaming is to build like your following and people. You want people to hear it, and you're promoting yourself basically. If you're not in it, if you're not on streaming at all, then you're losing out too, because then you're not gonna you can get like sync offers and different things that you can get through having streaming, being
Yeah.
on streaming. So it's
It's
like it's a crazy world. It's not like the old days at all.
mhm. It's necessary now. You know, you have to. Yeah.
You have to
Um,
be in it to win it, right? It's like playing the lottery. You got to play it, to win it, right?
Yep, exactly. Now, I wanted to ask, obviously you're taking this music seriously, right? And when it comes to, your goals and things like that, right? Is this something you want to do full time? Because, a lot of the time when people have, passion projects and things like that, it's like, okay, but I'm doing it, in my free time. I'm doing it in my spare time, right? But, a lot of people that go all in with music, it's like that's the only way I can make it, right? So I know you probably have a lot of things going on in your life, right? So how do you balance this, and what do you want to do with it?
Um, I kind of I put a lot of time into music. I mean, I'm going to Berkeley, I'm learning a lot there. I got 2 more years left, about a year and a half, 2 years. And I just want to learn as much as I can about becoming a better musician. But it's to answer your question, I don't really see it like any end goal. It's like the journey. I'm enjoying the journey right now, and my goal, it's such a moving target because I don't know from okay, once I'm done with all the songs that I want to put out, I had a plan to at least get 10 songs, released. And then after that, I was going to figure out my next move. So I don't really have like this set goal of what I'm trying to do musically. Um, whether it's not, I don't think of it as, oh, I'm going to make a living doing music. I don't think of it like that. Like I got other things that I do to make money. And so I don't think that relying on music is if you get lucky maybe with it, and you make money. But what is that saying? Do what you love and then the money will come.
Mhm.
Doesn't always work that way, but you got to uh, just do what you love. Keep it moving, and if something comes out of it, great. If not, you still got a life and other things going on and other ways of making money. You know.
For sure. Yeah, it's like, this whole podcasting thing. Like, am under no, what do you call it? False belief that this is going to be
Right.
a big thing for me. Like, I do it for fun, you know?
Right. And music, same thing with music. It's not like I just do it for fun. It's a passion, right? So your podcast is a passion. You're doing it because you love it. You're into it. It's great. I think it's great. I never really listened to podcasts before because I'm always like, I just want to listen to music,
Uh-huh.
but now I'm like, really, I listen to your podcast and I'm like, "Oh, it's really cool.
I think it's
I
cool.
think it's really cool. And the interview you did with Tommy
Uh-huh.
Chung.
Yeah.
Oh, that was pretty awesome. He's a really good talker.
Oh man, and here's the thing, like, with these interviews, I get people that, are a little long-winded, and I kind of have to, like, not cut them off, but I have to kind of steer them in a direction. I was like, just let him talk. I let him talk because everything
Yeah,
he said was gold. I'm like, this
gold.
guy, man, like, he's been in entertainment for like over 70 years, right? Or
Right?
sorry, about 70 years, 7 decades. I mean, I know
God,
it's
that long.
yeah,
And I was like, I'm waiting for like part two and part three and part four because there was a lot more that he needed to say, and it's
yeah.
like you only had that small amount of time.
Mhm.
But
I,
I
yeah,
think,
I'm looking forward to maybe scheduling him again. I got an idea I want to do with him, but yeah.
yeah, and I'm so thankful to Steve Joyner for hooking us up. I mean, when I first started talking to him, all of a sudden he had me on the phone with like, conferencing in all these people. He's got all
Uh-huh.
this energy and he's like, and I'm like, oh my God, slow down, slow down. He's like, I'm going to book you on this show, on that show, and talk to
Uh,
this guy, talk to that guy. And I didn't think that he'd dial everybody in right away, but I thought that was pretty cool though.
I think it's because we live in such a world now where everything's like, via text, via email, right? And the same thing with me. At first, like, as soon as I got in contact with him, like, for the very first time, it's like, here, let me put you on the phone with this guy. I'm like, what the hell? I'm like, what's going on here, right? Because you're
Right,
not
right.
used to that anymore.
No, he came on like a storm, but it was great because he got stuff done. He's like he makes stuff happen.
Mhm.
It reminds me of this guy, uh, Pete Bennett. He was this promotion guy from back in the 70s and 80s. He was a promoter for the Beatles and Apple Records, and he was like well known back then. And I became friends with him in like the 2000s.
Mhm.
And he always would say that every connection means something. You connect people. He was a connector of people, and he always made stuff happen. And Steve, he reminds me of him. He passed away a number of years ago, but that's what makes a great uh, PR man, is somebody that knows how to connect people, and always, thinks of them where he could fit somebody else, and
Mhm.
he's got like the same energy, same personality.
Yeah. Well, so I mean, hopefully
But
this is not the only podcast, right? That I don't think it is. If I know the way things work, I know you probably got a few more lined up, but
yeah,
yeah.
he has me lined up with a bunch. I mean, this is my very first podcast. I've never spoken before, other than I actually, for when I first started Berkeley, I had to do an interview on video, and I hooked up with Jennifer Batten. I hope I'm pronouncing her last name right, but she was a guitar player from Michael Jackson and Jeff Beck, and she toured all over. I don't know if you remember her. She had like the big white hair, and she's an amazing guitar player.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, and she's not only a great guitar player, great person, a genius. I was really nervous, and I was like, I wrote out everything I was going to ask and what I was going to say, and I'm like, oh my God, I don't know, So I wrote everything out, and I got nervous, and I was like, well, I'm just going to wing it. I can't even look at this piece of paper, and I
Mhm.
started asking her all kinds of questions, and she was so great. She just ran with it. Kind of reminded me of Tommy Chong. She just did most of the talking. I was like, oh, thank God,
Mhm. Yeah.
But that was a great interview if you want to look it up on YouTube. But yeah, I'll stick on the other side of things. It was fun for the moment, you know.
Yeah, for
And I
sure.
learned a lot from her though. She's very informative.
Hmm.
Lots of great stories.
For sure. Now, let's talk a little bit of like equipment. I know you're a big fan of like, all the toys, right? You like the tools of the trade here, right? So,
Oh yeah.
how many guitars do you have? Like how or
Oh
instruments even?
God. Why do you want do you have my address? Do you know? No, I'm kidding. I don't know. Probably like I don't have that much, maybe 20.
Oh, not that much.
But I also collect other instruments too. I have a upright bass. I have a harp. I play the liver harp. And when I was living in California, I started learning the harp by accident because I was working for a harp store. I was actually doing the website because I'm a web developer, and I was doing the website, and she had all these harps, and the tuning person didn't show up, and I was like, oh, I can tune them. So I wound up working there tuning the harps, and then I wound up learning how to play the harp, and I just love it. I have a 38 string Lion and Healy harp. It's made in Chicago. It's
Oh,
really cool.
so that's interesting.
Yeah,
I've never even understood like how you play it. Like, is it kind of sort of similar to like guitar or anything like that? I know.
no, it's a
No.
whole different. It's a whole different animal. It's well, it's 38 strings, but it has the octaves, and it's more like laid out like a piano, like kind of.
Okay.
But it's its own craziness, but it's like anything else. I always vow to learn a new instrument every 5 years.
Hmm.
So my next instrument will probably be the cello.
Okay.
I
All
have to
right.
play the cello, and I love the cello. I love the sound of the cello.
Mhm. When it comes to guitars, like, I think I mentioned to you on the phone that I love like the Les Paul, right? Like yeah, I mean Gibson would have
Yeah,
been nice. I could never afford Gibson, but like
yeah.
Epiphone was like the next step down. But I love the weight of it, the neck, how thick it is for me. It works for me. I've always loved like the Les Paul body. What kind of guitars are you into?
Well, the Les Paul, I had a Les Paul, and it was a Randy Rhoads model, triple coil pickup. It was really a great guitar. It was very heavy though. And it's funny that you say you like the heavy guitars, but try standing playing in a band for hours with it, it can get, it's pretty heavy, literally. But I recently got a Epiphone Les Paul, and it is an amazing sounding guitar. I think it's so worth it to not spend the money and just get a great Epiphone. I think they're awesome. I love them. I have a PRS guitar, and right now I'm like obsessed with the Schecter because it's new.
Hmm.
Every time I get a new guitar, I'm obsessed with it. But I also have a Gibson 175, which is from, I think it's a 1980, I want to say 86. Yeah, 1986. And well, it used to play like butter. I haven't played it in a while.
Hmm.
It's arm rotation. I'll get to it.
I
So all
think
my guitars like arm rotation.
I think when I was looking at your social media, you had like some Jacksons too, right?
Yeah, I got a Jackson, and I've been playing a lot of that. Mostly I've been recording with the Jackson mostly. I love that guitar. It's a great guitar. They were all great guitars. It just depends on what I'm playing or in the moment. Like I was obsessed with the Jackson until I just got the Schecter. Now I'm like obsessed with the Schecter.
Are you a fan of Fender? Like I like, it's a classic look, but and I love the sound, for certain like funk or something like that, or but I never liked Fender guitars as far as like me
You
playing them.
know,
I felt like the neck is a little too skinny.
I have a Stratocaster, and I just never. I like it, and I like the idea of it, but I don't really like playing it. I don't know why. It's just something with the neck, the feel. I don't really care for the feel of it. I mean, I prefer the Jackson over it,
Mhm.
playing it. But I don't want to offend any Stratocaster fans, but
Let's offend
it's
them.
not. Let's offend them.
Mhm.
But I have it and I can't get rid of it because it's a Stratocaster, and it's like I love Hendrix, so I feel like I need to try to like it sometimes, but
Mhm.
I just don't take to it. I just haven't really found the guitar that I'm like, this is it. Maybe in the moment I'm like, this is it. And then I like, I'm like, no, this isn't really it. Like right now I'm already annoyed with Schecter, because of the neck is too wide.
Uh-huh.
Like, oh, I wish it was like more like the Wolfgang.
Yeah, and
And so
are you
I think I just need to build my own guitar.
maybe, right? Yeah, maybe customize that thing, make it a like a Frankenstein guitar, right?
Yeah. But I do like Fender basses though.
Mm.
Like I love the precision bass. When it comes to bass, that's a whole different animal. Like
No, yeah, I agree. Yeah, because I've played a few of their basses, and I do like those, but for some reason I just the like the
guitars.
Stratocaster especially I don't like it. I don't like the shape. Again, it's a little too light weight for me. The neck is too skinny. But I like the sound. You know.
Yeah, the sound is good. It's just a feel. It's a feel thing. I can't get past.
Mhm. Are you like big into different amps and things like that, or are you just like whatever? I play on anything.
No, I've been using Amplitude. I in school we were doing a lot of recordings and we used Amplitude, so I got into that. I just got the Boss GT 1000, so I've been like really getting into that big time.
Mhm.
That's like the be all end all for me right now. Has amazing sounds. But I'm a gadget lover. I'm always buying different things that, the newest thing,
Mhm.
whatever the newest thing is, I'm like, I gotta get it.
Uh-huh. Um, I was, with me when it comes to like effects and things like that, right? I think they're cool and everything, but I would always get really like flustered because I'm like, there's so many effects to choose from, right? You have this
Yeah.
distortion that sounds different from this distortion. I'm like, what do you pick? And so I've always kind of like to me it was a
It can get
little
overwhelming. It's
ex-
overwhelming.
yep.
But when I playing the bass was so much simpler. It's like when I transitioned and really wanted to get into guitar, I'm like, it's overwhelming. It's way different than playing the bass. I can't say that the bass is easier than the guitar. It's just when it comes to uh, effects and stuff like that, it's not as complex for sure, unless you make it complex. But for the most part, it's not.
Yeah, no,
Plug in and go.
I agree with that. Yeah. I mean, you could definitely add some, some effects and stuff to bass, but you're right. The world isn't as big there.
Right, exactly.
Mhm.
But
Um,
like the Boss T 1000 is, I highly recommend it because it's just got everything in it. It makes everything less complex.
mm. And that's an effects pedal, or is that an amp?
It's an effects pedal
Okay. Yeah.
and
It
it's
was
got everything built in. Yeah, it's really cool.
nice. Yeah. Again, I'm not a huge tech head there, so I was like, okay, what are we talking about here? But yeah, okay. Bosses, yeah, they got a lot of they got a lot of good effects pedals and things like that. I've seen their stuff before. Um, Now again, you mentioned you have a new song coming out in the next couple of weeks, right? And I really want to just plug that real quick. What kind of song is it? And you know,
Oh,
uh, what's the feel of it?
well, the Spirit, it's called Spirit, and it's more like I want to say Pink Floydish, I guess. The guitar, yeah, so it's an instrumental, but it sounds more more like a Pink Floyd song. Like you might hear it and be like, oh, that's really pretty. It's not crazy. It's not great crazy guitar playing or anything. It's pretty laid back, I think.
Okay, so that and that's coming out like on Spotify and Apple all over the place.
Yeah, it's coming out on all the streaming. So I'm just waiting for it to be mixed and then it'll be out. Um I was gonna try to play the drums on it. I could play the drums a little bit, it the problem with the drums is miking it up and getting the right sounds. Forget it. There's no way. So I'd rather rely on somebody else. I can't
Uh-huh.
do everything. As much as I want to do everything, I can't do everything.
And I'm a drummer first, that's what I first started playing. And so I agree with that. Like you have to be really skilled at audio to mic
Yes.
drums. Um,
Yes. It
and
can sound so horrific if you don't mic it right. It's terrible. So
and then the alternative is like, an electronic kit, and that just doesn't sound the same.
yeah, no, you could tell it doesn't feel right.
Hmm.
It doesn't have the feel. You have to, I feel like you have to have a live drummer, like I was
Yeah.
gonna put it out with the drum machine and then I was like, no way, I have to have
Well,
somebody play on it.
well, even like I have a Roland, drum kit, right? An electronic drum kit, and it's really good. It's really nice, but you can still tell, like, no,
You
that
can
that that is not the same thing, right?
you can always tell. Yeah. You
The
could always tell a drum
response,
machine.
yeah, the response is different, so like, you know, even though it has like realistic symbols, even, right? Like, they look like symbols, they play like symbols, right? But it's just not the same, right?
I mean, the only thing that I find drum machines useful for is if you're going to show a drummer how you basically want the song, you give them the song and say, here, do something with this, and you got the drums down,
Yeah.
and then they take off from there. But other than that, just putting the song together for like the demo purposes, maybe, that's it. But if you're going to release a song, although there's a lot of stuff out there, like in hip hop and everything, that they're like masters of making the drums sound, you know, big, huge.
Hmm.
And a
Yeah.
lot of them, I think they use like the Reason DAW. That's pretty big for that type of stuff.
Hmm.
There's so many genres out there today and types of music and styles, and it's crazy.
Yeah, for
So much
sure.
to keep up with.
Hmm. Now, really quickly, Lisa, I want to, put your social media or anything you want to plug out there for people to find you. Where can they find you?
Okay, I'm on Facebook, and it's Lisa with, I think, three A's, Lisa Marie Barnes, because I couldn't get my name. I think somebody else has it. There's a lot of people with my name. So that's my Facebook, and then my Spotify. Just look me up, Lisa Marie Barnes,
Hmm.
and you can find me on Spotify or any of the streaming. Just ask Alexa.
There we go.
Yeah.
Um, and then I just wanted to, close out with, anything else you want to throw out there about, Lisa Marie Barnes and her music.
Just a new releases, and if you want to check it out, come check it out and come visit me on social media. I don't bite. I'm friendly. If anybody wants to collaborate, I'm planning on doing something in the future where I'll probably put something live together and do like a live thing. Right now, I'm just strictly focused on songwriting and putting that out there. But at some point, I'm going to put something together, and I'm going to need other musicians because I can't do it all myself.
Hmm. All right. Well, I really appreciate having you on. I do wish you the best of luck, and we'll be,
Yeah.
looking out for that new release, and, checking out all the music to come and everything like that. So thank you again for joining me.
Thank you too. Thank you so much for my very first experience and not being like Howard Stern.
Oh, no, 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 never. Right. I was thinking about that too. I'm like, damn, imagine, just having people on just to make them feel like shit.
Yeah, he does that. And I'm like, oh God, I hope this guy's not going to do that to me and say some horrible things. You just don't know. So I'm relieved that I didn't, you're not like him. There are other podcasters that are like that. And I'm like, if that happens, I'll never do another podcast again. But this was painless. So
Oh
thank
yeah,
you for being so cool.
for sure. I appreciate it again, and for everybody listening at home, I appreciate it. Thank you. Fuck you and good night.
Strength Podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and Google Podcasts. Like, follow, and share on Facebook and Instagram at Ignorance is Strength Podcast, and on Twitter at The Ignorance Pod.